Kamala Harris had an event in Nevada on reproductive rights. And we know that there were protesters in the building, which we will get to in just a moment. But a couple of, shall we say, potential protesters or people who perhaps looked to the Kamala Harris staff like they may have been troublemakers were denied entry to the building. So what do we mean by that? Well, let's find out. This from Nevadans for Palestinian Liberation. On Saturday, January 27th, at the Kamala Harris Get Out the Vote event in Las Vegas, two visible members of the Muslim community wearing hijabs were not let in by campaign officials. The Biden-Harris campaign is clearly fanning the flames of Islamophobia. So here you have these two Muslim women trying to get in. They're on the list. They had RSVP'd. They had their confirmations. And here's how they're greeted when they go to enter the venue.
I'm sorry.
Why are you choosing us not to go in when we have an invite?
Right, you specifically singled us out.
That's racist. Is it because we have hijabs?
I'm happy to talk to
someone
else.
It is because that's clearly, I was afraid of this.
And they hired Dieter from Sprockets to do the security.
Isn't that against Democrats? Whole campaign? That's very Islamophobic. That's very racist.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
Keep coming through.
We have an invite.
You're part of the LGBT community too, right? And you're still gonna kick us out?
Come on through.
The pink-haired lady, the very tall white woman gets
crazy.
through.
Wow. Now I really won't vote
Right.
for Biden and Harris. That's crazy.
Yep.
Interesting.
So it wasn't a capacity issue, obviously.
Whose decision is that?
Las Vegas.
Because we want to talk to them.
Okay.
Right, whose decision was this?
Come on through.
Whose decision was this, she says.
Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. They're racist,
Part of
Islamophobic,
the LGBT community,
obviously.
and you're being racist.
Get a ticket or something?
They're disinviting.
Look at how this lady stops, which is, credit to her. How do you just walk by if you see that these two Muslim women are not being allowed in and they're saying rightfully that they're being denied entry because they're Muslims? How do you keep walking? Maybe some people didn't see it or didn't care. This woman, you see right in back of him, she stopped. She's like, what? What?
Yep.
We're on our way
Yep.
to the nice, liberal, anti-racist, pro-feminist event, and these two Muslim women are being denied entry, complaining that they're being discriminated against. So they stop. Let's watch the rest of this.
Us because we have hijabs on our heads. That's why, people. This is not a democracy. This is disgusting.
We're being singled out.
Obviously, we're the only hijabi women. That's kind of clear. They're disinviting us because we have scarves on our heads.
Literally.
That's disgusting. When we have an invitation, just like everyone else, what is the problem?
By a man who's in the LGBT community too.
Well,
You're
how do you
going
know?
after-
Like she says, by a man who's in the LGBT community. Too.
I mean, I'd say it's a safe bet.
I know. It's just funny. It's just funny how she jumps to that conclusion.
Another group.
Can they come in? They were already.
Wow.
Why not?
Look at this. It's not
It
because of
is,
their
because
scars?
why isn't it? We have an invitation.
There are plenty of women here that don't have any.
No, here, don't come up with excuses because
You
I.
are a black woman and you're coming up with excuses for racism as well.
I didn't.
Yes, you
I didn't
did.
give you an excuse.
You
I'm
just
letting
said that
you
we're
know.
not being
I'm letting you
discriminated,
know
but
that
when
you.
clearly are.
I'm letting you know that you've been disinvited from an event.
Why?
So you can choose.
So she's not
I'm
making
just
an
not
excuse.
going to give you an excuse at all. I'm just going to tell you to leave.
Right. She's saying, I'm not giving you an excuse. I'm not going to give you any reason at all. I'm just insisting you leave. So that's part one of the video. There's more, and we will get to that in a second. But I want to show you here. Both of these Muslim constituents had RSVP'd for the event, were given wristbands upon checking in, and were standing in line when the Harris campaign officials denied them entry. So there you can see. They have the email confirmation. They have the wristband. They're ready to go. It's not a capacity issue. You see they're letting other people in.
Yep.
And so Here's part 2 of the video. As you can clearly see, these women were disinvited while others were being let in who were behind them. When pressed about why they were not allowed in, the Harris officials could not give a legitimate reason. Here's part 2.
Have an invitation, just like everyone else. What is the problem?
By a man who's in the LGBT community too. You're going after another group.
Oh, I see. There's a little overlap here.
They were already.
Why not? It is, because why isn't it? We have an invitation.
There are plenty of women here that don't have any.
No, here,
We're out of
don't
what?
come up with
What are they out
excuses
of?
because
You
I.
are a black woman and you're coming up with excuses for racism as well.
I didn't.
Yes, you
I didn't
did.
give you an excuse.
You
I'm
just
letting
said that
you
we're
know.
not being.
All right, so here's the new
letting you
material.
know that
Apologies. I guess there was an overlap.
I'm
there.
letting you know that you've been disinvited from an event.
Why?
So you can choose to leave
Why?
at this point or not.
I won't leave because I have an
And if you
invitation.
want, then we'll
We're
have
asking
someone
why.
escort you off.
We're
Why?
asking
I've let you know.
We
that
have
you've been
every
disinvited.
right to know
You're
why.
a
I
black
don't-
woman who's partaking
You're
in white
targeting
supremacy.
us.
I'm not targeting
I hope you feel real
I'm
proud of
letting you know.
yourself.
I feel really targeted right now.
And
That's
you too.
disgusting.
You're a melanated man participating in white supremacy.
So what's the issue, man?
They disinvited
What's
us.
the issue?
And I think it's clear we have hijabs. Like, why? We have an
By a
invite.
black woman and a gay man. Isn't that funny?
We didn't do anything wrong. We literally have an invite. We have a wristband. We showed our ID. But it's clear, like, what's
We were
the other
invited. We
reason
have
why
the
we're
email.
disinvited?
They don't
we
bother
have a
saying
scarf on
anything.
our head.
And you won't provide a reason.
And you won't give us a reason. So what's the reason?
If you're disinvited, you're disinvited, right? That's.
For what? We deserve an explanation why. We come. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I come here to see Kamala. As a voter,
Look.
and this is disgusting. This completely changes
If we
my
had an-
view on
if-
things.
If we had an explanation, we'd give it to you, but at this time.
Right. So you don't have an explanation. So therefore, it is
I-
racist and Islamophobic. And this is exactly what this campaign is gonna. The message that you're trying to spread.
Okay. I just while these two idiots are on the camera, I just want to let everybody know that when you're talking about the Democratic Party, and this is probably true to the to some extent within the Republican Party as well, these two major parties become ecosystems of their own. And when you got lowlifes like this with no
Yep.
principles,
Yep.
no morals, no standards, no goals beyond their own enrichment, raising
Yep.
their own profile. This is the gig that's a stepping stone to the bigger gig that
Yep.
becomes a stepping stone to the bigger gig,
Yep.
to the
It's a
bigger
career.
gig, to the bigger gig. Right. It's a career. So their goal is to stay in good standing with their boss so that they
Yep.
will get recommended by their boss to a bigger and better boss during the next campaign, and on they go. And eventually these people aspire to be the Jen Psaki's, the Karine Jean-Pierre's, the David Pluffs, the David Axelrods, the John Podestas, the Neera Tandons, right? Like they
Yep.
are their heroes. That's what they're aspiring to be.
Yep.
And so that's why they can stand out here and with no emotion and no shame, just tell these two Muslim women, no, you're not allowed in. No, we don't owe you an explanation. If we had one, we'd give it to you. We don't, but you've been disinvited, and that's that. This
Well,
is who floods our system. This is the entry-level scumbag.
It's the Jake Sullivans.
Yes, these are
the
the Jake
Jake
Sullivans.
Sullivans
This is
in
where Jake
waiting.
Sullivan got his start. He watches this. He's like, I remember those days.
Yep. These are the kind of scumbags who watch West Wing and think that's a really great representation of how government should work. A bunch of very clean-cut, well-educated people with no particular values working the levers of bureaucracy. And the voting base of the Democratic Party. I have never met a Democrat who didn't think that show was great. Have you? Have you ever
Yeah,
met
no, they all
anybody
love
who
that
was like a Democrat who didn't think that show was great?
No, they all love that show.
No,
they all love
they're-
that show. And
they're
this is
ne-
why.
And it's actually a very disturbing show if you look at the underlying vision of government that it has. It presents it as a career gig, right? It's very sexy. It's very cool. They're all very smart and very well dressed, but they don't have any real core values or principles. And that's a reflection of politics that could only appeal to the professional managerial class. and that's what these people are. That's what they aspire to be. And all they really care about is that they diversify the elites. That's what the guy on the left is there for. And that's what the guy on the right is there for, because we can't know for sure, but I'd say they probably nailed his identification pretty well, and he certainly didn't deny it. So, yeah, you just get these kind of goons. And when people tell you you have no values, what do you mean? We have gay and brown people.
Right.
Of course
Yeah,
we have
exactly.
values.
That's disgusting.
You're gross. You're literally disgusting.
Do y'all want to walk with me?
No, whose decision was that? Who told you that decision?
You're part
Since
of
you
the
didn't
white
make that
supremacy,
decision.
You're a part of the LGBT community. Are you happy with yourself? I'm sure you're happy with yourself.
Yeah, he's totally happy with himself.
Yep.
He's doing his job.
Yeah,
He's
give a
staying in good
shit.
standing.
Doesn't
Now, what
care.
was his job? So we know that Joe Biden's been getting protested everywhere he's gone, right? With ceasefire activists. Let's go inside the hall. This is a hijab wearing woman who they must have missed because this is inside the event. Oh, look, a white woman. They let her in. They didn't see her coming.
It's an Arab. She tricked her.
Yeah.
She dyed her hair.
In a real democracy, everyone has
Look at these fucking zombies clap. Look at these fucking zombies clap. Every time with the protest, they clap when the
Oh, yeah, they
protesters
clap.
get thrown out.
They
Always.
drowned them out. Yeah, of course. Of course. Let's hear what she says.
And I would say we all want this conflict to end as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And the president and I are working on that every single day.
Oh, yeah, you're working on that every single day. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
So
That's why you're here, to terrorize young people about reproductive rights and try and convince them to sell out the people of Gaza. Hey, we know we're funding a genocide, but see, look, it says right behind me, we're fighting for reproductive freedoms. And so if you like those reproductive freedoms, those Gazans are going to have to go, right? They're just going to have to go. That's
Trust
just the price
women.
of doing business. Trust women.
I mean,
Exactly.
isn't that very revealing that they feel a need to put that right under Kamala Harris's name? Like they have to convince people to trust her.
Yeah, trust women. Trust this woman. Yeah.
back to what we were discussing. Back to what we were discussing. We are looking at a situation. We're looking at a situation in our country where there are
Okay, so that's an example of what happened inside the building. Now, this woman here with the hijab got in. Now, do I know this for a fact? No, but I could tell you with extreme confidence this is how this went down. They knew Biden's been getting protested everywhere he goes, and they see a couple of people with the hijabs come in, and they, text these two idiots outside.
Yep.
Hey, just be on the lookout for anyone who looks like they may cause a problem. And if they look they might cause a problem, don't let them in. That's what they said. That had to be the order. And so this guy finds these two Muslim women and says, well, I guess this is who they were talking about, given the context of the moment. And so he decided not to let them in. Could you imagine if two Muslim women or Muslim men were denied entry to a Trump rally?
It would be all you would be hearing
You
today.
would not hear anything else.
George
Today, for a week, you wouldn't stop
Takei
hearing about that.
would
That would
have a
dominate for
stroke.
1 week. Yeah.
George Takei would have tweeted 15 tweets about it by now.
Of course.
And you're not going to see a word about this.
Not one word, no.
It's really, I think this is one of those clips that, as if they hadn't lost that community already. This is just going to circulate in the Muslim community all the way up to Election Day. And I think a lot of other people we can see in the numbers, people of non-white identity groups are getting more and more skeptical of the Democratic Party because, Yeah, as that great article that I always forget, it was in the New York Times, right, about the people who didn't vote, black people who didn't vote for Hillary in
Yeah, that was in
Wisconsin,
Milwaukee. Yeah.
in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And that's what they said. Well, Obama didn't do shit for us, so we're going to come out and vote for Hillary. But with what's happening to darker skinned people trying to show up at these events, I cannot wait to get back into the mix. This is, straight middle-aged white guys take a lot of shit, but for these purposes, I am your perfect ally. They're never going to stop me from walking in.
No. Well, this is it. This is it. Well, this is part of, I mean, what you just said. I mean, I know you meant that tongue in cheek, but it is true. I mean, this is why we feel a responsibility to speak out about this the way we can, because they're not going to stop us from going into an event. We're going to be let in. And so we feel that if we can get in, right? If our skin and our eyes don't trigger any sensors, don't trip any sensors, then we have an obligation to speak for those who can't get in. You have racial profiling now at the Kamala Harris campaign. That's what that is, pure and simple. No explanation, no other plausible explanation for that whatsoever. I mean, could you imagine? This is the campaign that's going to run on what a racist and a nativist and an anti-immigrant Donald Trump is.
Well,
and you're not letting Muslim women into the rally, clearly because you are just betting. You're just playing the odds. You're saying, well, these people, based on their skin color and based on their dress, are more likely to start protesting than the white girls who come in. They profiled them. They fucking straight up profiled them and didn't even try and come up with an explanation, because obviously what explanation could there be? But that fucking asshole didn't care, because this is what I have to communicate to people. All these people care about, all these little functionaries care about, is brown-nosing the boss. That's it. Yep. Their convictions begin and end there. They don't give a fuck about fuck all else. That is all they care about. And so he'll take the hit, that guy's on social media and a certain, people were tagging him and calling him this and that. He doesn't care. He did right by the boss. He will get the next gig. It'll be bigger than this one.
Not gonna hurt him.
All he gives a shit about. That's all any of these people give a shit about. That's one reason of many. One reason why you cannot reform these parties, because they are their own industries. They are their own businesses.
Right. It's a business.
All of his incentives are within that model, within that superstructure called the Democratic Party. Nothing else matters. All this bad press, it'll fall off him like water off his back.
And if you look in terms of the profiling, very much like with police searching people for drugs, and actually white people are much more likely to have drugs on them when you randomly stop and search them, but they profile the black people. I don't know, man. There's been a lot of protesting going on over the last several months. And from what I can see, it's mostly white people who jump up at these events and start screaming for a ceasefire. So, I mean, you want to talk about just absolutely disgusting racist profiling that is not even in any way based on anything, right? But what are they going to do? Stop all the white people?
Right, they can't stop the white people.
That's their real base.
Right.
So they singled these people out.
Yeah. Just amazing. Amazing that you wouldn't just take a chance. Odds are you're going to get protested anyway. You're getting protested everywhere you're going to go, and that's going to continue no matter what you do.
You're on film. You know you're being videoed. This shit's going to go up on social media.
Right. And you're going to get protested anyway, odds are. So you're going to get whatever bad press comes with getting protested. Now you're going to compound that by saying, let's try and keep people out who look like they might be a problem, which is clearly the order that was given. What other explanation is there?
No, I agree. They wouldn't have called them and been like, hey, no one with a hijab. They gave them a vague directive like that, and that's how they acted.
Oh, yeah, no, they didn't say keep the Muslim women out. They said anybody who looks like they might cause a problem, right? That has to be what they said. That has to be what they said. Because if there were any other reason, like if those people, were, I mean, it's just absurd. There's no other explanation for that. Just absolutely just abhorrent and shameless. And it's just viciously racist. I mean, Kamala Harris's team are vicious, Islamophobic racists, and they should be called that wherever they go now. Wherever they go now, they should be called that. So far, they have not been able to do an event without getting protested. And something like this should just re-up everyone's efforts. Do not let them do a single event without being protested.
And you know what, man? Just to preview Saturday, yeah, it's not the only reason, but I think Jose helped to point people in that direction, and Kynan and the other people in that group who have been doing it.
Clearly.
Once they started doing it, other people said, shit, I could do that.
No, they absolutely had a huge impact. I mean, those interventions they did went viral. That AOC intervention got millions of views on Twitter alone, not to mention it was featured on Tucker Carlson. It was featured on television. I mean, that absolutely made a huge impact, because once people see they can do it and they see that all that's going to happen is you're going to get dragged out. Like, that's part of the reason why I wanted to make this film about Jose, and part of the reason why I took an instant curiosity to Jose and an instant liking to Jose is because he proves that, A, for all this bullshit about he's in a cult, he's this and that, he's a regular guy. He's as regular a guy as could be. The same sense of humor as anybody else. Very, very friendly and cool. He's just a normal dude. But also, you get to see that at the end of these interventions, you're cool. You get to live your life. You don't get thrown in jail for this, right? Because he doesn't break the law. Like, I think that's a big barrier to people getting the courage to stand up. They think, well, what's going to happen? Are they going to arrest me? Are they going to confiscate my stuff? Are they going to, am I going to be on some list? Which, you might be on a list, but my whole family's on a list so far. It hasn't been much harm.
I mean, we're on the list just from doing the show.
Just from doing the show. But he kind of proves to people that, hey, you can do this and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. They'll drag you out. They'll call you an asshole. The crowd will boo you. Who cares? You'll be fine.
They won't let you get your book.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, at this event, she wasn't selling a book, but you'll be cool. Everything will be all right. As long as you
wanted to know what
obviously
Rachel
you
had
don't
to
be
say.
violent. You don't do anything like that. And Jose makes a point of saying that, in the film. Go and do this. Go and do this. You have to. Everywhere they go, every event has to be interrupted.
Yes.
They have to know that they're going to be interrupted peacefully and legally, of course, at every campaign event that they do between now and when this bloodshed ends. And even after, at this point, it's too late. At this point, calling for a ceasefire, I mean, we need there to be a ceasefire brokered. But at this point, even if he does negotiate a ceasefire, it's too late. You should still be hounding him everywhere he goes.
Well, there are plenty of other reasons.
Well, there are plenty of other reasons, but I'm saying at this point, 30,000 dead, it's too late to win any points back with us, for sure.
Yep.
So, good on the people who got in, and just what a disgraceful display. I mean, that is a low, even for these people. That's a low.
Please clap.